Hello and welcome to Retirement Today. My name is Jenna Cairns, founder and financial advisor at Beacon Wealth Advisory, and we're here to help get you to and through retirement with financial peace of mind. If you would like to listen to this show or any of our past shows, you can go out to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music, or you can view us on YouTube. And if you'd like to subscribe, go out to YouTube, put in the search engine Beacon Wealth Advisory. And if you hit subscribe, you'll be notified every time we have a new video out. So before we get started, I'm going to bring on Jacqueline. Jacqueline, so good to have you on the show today, as usual. How you doing? We're not matching today.
I know. That's what I was going to say too. I'm like, Jenna, you and wearing black today is so unlike you.
I know. I'm in a serious mood. We have some
Yes.
serious things to talk about today.
Yes. And I get it. And I just want to mention before we get into, this episode, I know we're going to be talking about kind of charitable giving once again. And this episode will come out on July 4th. And I just want to wish our listeners and viewers, I hope everyone has a fantastic July 4th weekend and is safe, but has fun celebrating 250-year anniversary. So Jenna, what do you have planned?
Oh, well, thank you for asking. Yeah, we've got some fun family times planned. We're going to a pool party. We're going to take the family with another family too to Topgolf. So that'll be really fun because our kids like to golf a little bit, and we just have a lot of fun doing Topgolf. And then we're having dinner with some other friends. So we're staying in town, and then we're going to a July 4th parade in Stillwell, Kansas. So we've got lots of plans. So how about you?
Yeah, I mean, your plans are exciting. Mine aren't so exciting. But that's okay. I mean, I'm very fortunate. My parents have a pool in their backyard. So I'll just probably chill by the pool and hopefully I can compete with your gorgeous tan that you have going on.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you. Wow.
Well, Jenna, let's get into today's episode. What are we going to be talking about today?
Yeah, well, this is going to be a really powerful episode today because we're going to share 3 very powerful charitable giving strategies that not only could potentially reduce taxes, but really multiply your impact. And I think people, Jacqueline, I don't know how you feel about this, but I do think there are people out there that they kind of believe money will fix everything.
Yes.
Right? Like, if I have money, I'm good, right? And some of us do put our security sometimes in our money, right? But I think hopefully if all of us are, seeing success in our career and our paychecks are growing, hopefully we are taking a little portion of that at least as we grow and giving that to something that makes a difference in the world and to be generous, right? I know it's not easy to do that, especially if you're first starting off in your career and you're going, well, gosh, I almost need every dollar here. But I do think there's something so powerful about taking a portion of that and giving it. If we tie it to the eternal, which you and I tend to do from time to time, the good book says it's truly better to give than to receive. And I'll say that again, it truly is better to give than to receive. And I think there is something so beautiful that happens in life the more selfless we become. And I think that can really be something that is shown in the way we manage our money. What do you think, Jacqueline?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to mention, I mean, we talk a lot about strategy on this show. And the reality, though, is that strategy does not replace the heart and the emotions of giving. It helps generosity really just travel farther in your life.
Yes, it does. Yeah. And we're going to cover 3 of the most powerful charitable giving strategies. When I think of, and there's multiple ones out there, but the 3 biggest ones, the most popular ones, are donating appreciated securities, qualified charitable distributions, sometimes known as QCDs from IRAs, and then charitable remainder trusts. And of course, Jacqueline, I'm going to tell a story with each one so everyone can really feel it and see what it's like in a real person's life, how we would use this, right?
Yes, I love that. So, Jenna,
Excuse
what
me.
is the core idea of really donating, appreciated securities like that?
Yeah. Well, I'd say you probably would agree. There's people that have probably made a lot already in the stock market this year, right? I
Mhm.
mean, especially in their stocks, their mutual funds, their
Mhm.
ETFs. And a lot of people are, even right now, directly taking those highly appreciated securities and donating them directly to a qualified charity. And it is a tax planning move as well. You typically avoid capital gains on that gift and may deduct fair market value subject to AGI. So the charity gets more than if you sold that security before you gave it, because then you'd have less there after the capital gains tax. But if you just transfer it right over to the charity, keep it in the exact same securities,
Mhm.
get it to the charity, then if they go ahead and sell it, because it's a charity, they don't have to pay capital gains tax on it. And really, you can reduce concentration risk by donating your highest gains first.
Mhm.
So it's a popular one right now.
Yeah,
It's
and it
great.
it sounds like it can be both, generous, but really good portfolio management and, kind of a great strategy.
It really is. Yeah, especially if, you could even just take those that same amount of money you donated to the charity and go
Mhm.
buy those same securities if you're worried about losing those securities to the charity. And then now you've just got a higher cost basis. So if you go to
Mhm.
sell that stock down the road, you're not going to have to pay as much in capital gains tax. Brilliant strategy. Love it.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
no
let's talk.
kidding.
Yeah. So let's talk about a real life situation. So Lewis, a first generation college grad, he just had a passion, Jacqueline, to help youth arts. He was very artistic himself, and he really wanted to just help kids that want to develop themselves artistically. He felt his $100 gifts that he would give from time to time was very small, and he had this taxable account that had a tech stock in it from his first job, and it was worth about 6,800 with roughly $4,000 of unrealized gains. So instead of selling that, he transferred a portion of those shares straight to the nonprofit's brokerage account. Again, no capital gains on that gift, a potential deduction at full value. And then they sold the shares and launched a weekend mural project for teens who'd never used pro grade materials. And he just felt so much satisfaction because he was able to help some of the kids really develop their artistic skills and just bring up the community with this
Mhm.
bright, beautiful mural, right? And at the unveiling, a real shy little student kind of went up to him and she traced her name hidden in the color wash and said, "Now my block looks like I feel on my best days. Lewis told me I thought I moved a stock, but really I moved courage and creativity for kids onto a wall." Isn't that neat?
Ooh. Well,
Yeah.
he's very good with his words too. But
I know. Yes.
well, I mean, Jenna, action steps is, in brief, if someone wants to implement this into their plan, how
Mhm.
would they do that?
Yeah. Well, the first step is you have to verify that the charity can actually accept securities or be used as a capable sponsor. You do have to confirm the long term holding status. So, long term holdings would be anything that you've held for more than a year. So, you don't want to sell it if you haven't held that security for at least a year. You want to donate your highest gains first and initiate transfers early before year end. A lot of people try to wait till December and it
Mhm.
can take weeks for it to transfer. So, you want to be doing this a little earlier in the year. You need to
Mhm.
save the acknowledgement letter and brokerage records for your CPA. And
Okay.
so these are all the things. So if somebody's, into tax planning and they've got some non-IRA highly appreciated assets, but they're also very charitable, this could be a something to consider within your financial plan. right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I just wanna mention, it's also worth considering kind of refilling that position with the fresh high basis shares if you want to continue to keep that exposure.
Exactly. If you don't want to lose that stock, just go buy it from your bank account then. And now you've got a new
Mhm.
basis. Your basis is higher, so you won't have to pay as much capital gains tax down the road if you try to sell
Mhm.
it. So thank you, Jacqueline. The second strategy that is just powerful. Have you heard of qualified charitable distributions, Jacqueline? I think we maybe did a show a long time ago
We
about it.
have. Yes,
Yeah.
we've mentioned it briefly, and so what are we gonna be talking about with that?
Yeah, well, it's called QCDs, and they're from traditional IRAs, which are accounts you haven't paid tax on yet. So a lot of these retirees get worried about taxes, because they have to take out this required minimum distribution at 73. And if they don't really need that to live off of because they've got other income that they're living off, a lot of people worry that, well, gosh, if the IRS is going to make me take this money out of my IRA, I don't really need it. I got to pay taxes on that. And that could maybe bump me into a higher tax bracket because it's going to be counted as income on my income tax records. But it also could maybe raise my Medicare premium because then I might get over that Medicare IRMA threshold, and so it really, a lot of people get really worried about these required minimum distributions in retirement.
Mhm.
So this is powerful. Are you ready?
Mhm. Yes.
Are you ready? Okay. If you're 70 and a half or older with a traditional IRA, you can send the funds directly from your IRA to a qualified charity. And that QCD is what it's called, can
Mhm.
satisfy part or all of your required minimum distribution and is typically excluded from taxable income. So you can just transfer it over and you don't get
Wow.
taxed on it, but it still satisfies that required minimum distribution when you get to be at least 73. It can lower your AGI, which again can keep you in the Medicare IRMA bracket that you want to stay in and other thresholds, while the gift gets to work immediately. So
Yeah.
that's really a popular strategy that'll actually, a lot of my clients do that.
Yeah, it sounds great. So let's put it into a story and a human moment.
Yes, yes. Well, Ruth taught fourth grade for decades. In retirement, RMDs nudged her taxable income up. She was still working, believe it or not, then. January meant tax anxiety time. She'd always written a small check to the school foundation. So I met with her and we talked about all of her goals and we set up a QCD, a qualified
Mhm.
charitable distribution. In August, her custodian, which was Charles Schwab, sent $4,000 straight to the foundation. So the money never touched her bank account. It just
Mhm.
went straight to the foundation. It satisfied part of her RMD, required minimum distribution, and it did not raise her taxable income. So the foundation bought reading kits, noise canceling headphones for neurodivergent students, and lap desks for kids without quiet spaces at home. And when Ruth visited, a boy whispered, "Hey, those headphones that you bought me? It makes the words stop bouncing and I can actually learn." Ruth
Wow.
said, "I set out to lower a tax bill, but I actually lowered a child's worry and helped them with their education."
Mhm. That is extremely powerful, Jenna, and I love to hear stories, especially about kids like that.
I
But
know.
let's share with our listeners maybe the key mechanics or, the strategy in doing the QCD strategy.
Yes, yes. Well, you have to be at least age 70 and a half, and you have to have a traditional IRA, which again is an IRA that you haven't paid taxes on yet. You have to transfer that directly to the charity. So if it's at Schwab, it's got to go directly to that charity, not to like a donor advised fund or private foundation. So keep the acknowledgement, coordinate 1099-R reporting with a tax professional because they'll still send you a 1099, but it'll
Mhm.
say $0 taxable. Okay. But
Mhm.
you need to bring that to your CPA. Consider sending earlier in the year the check to manage RMDs and help nonprofits budget. And again, you don't want to be waiting until December because the transfer could take a while, right?
Yes. Yes. So for our listeners and viewers, if you're nearing that 70 and a half, age well, why do they do the halves, Jenna? 59 and a half, 70 and a half. I don't get it.
I don't know.
But
The IRS has a sense of humor, I think, but
yes,
I will give them some credit. I do like the way they incentivize us on certain things. Like
yes.
they incentivize us to get a mortgage, they
Mhm.
incentivize us to give with little, tax laws like this. And
Mhm.
so I'll give them credit on that end, but I'm not sure why their reasoning is behind that. Should we
Yes.
call them and ask? I think we should.
Yes, I think we should. But I mean, moral of the story, if you are at that 70 and a half, set a reminder for yourself. Say like, "Hey, if I'm right at that the day that you turn 70 and a half, just like the day you
Yes.
turn 59 and a half,
Yeah.
just set a reminder."
I love that. That's a great idea. Yes. So yeah, the third strategy that I want to talk about, and that QCD was a powerful one, but the third one that I don't hear a whole lot about, Jacqueline, in the industry is what's called a charitable remainder trust. Now, I'm not an attorney. I don't set up the charitable remainder
Mhm.
trust. You'd have to do that with an estate planning attorney, but I just want to tell you how that can coordinate with investments. So where I have seen this work the most is if somebody has a really highly appreciated asset. Like I've done this for some farmers in our area, where
Mhm.
if they have, if they've really
Equipment.
gained a lot in their real estate or in their farm, and they're like, I'd really like to, have some money to live off of, but most of my money's in this farm. What we've done is sell the farm, avoid paying capital gains tax by transferring that into a charitable remainder trust. Now, you can set up a percentage in that trust to pay you an income for life or a term of years, and the remainder goes to charity. But if you pass away, whatever's left in that charitable remainder trust does go to a charity. So if they
Mm.
don't want to give it all to a charity, sometimes the amount that would go to a charity, we just use a life insurance policy to fund if they want that portion to go to the kids. But if there's a considerable capital gains tax, that has been such a blessing to some of the farmers in this area, this strategy
Mhm.
that just want to have some income now off of all their hard work, and leave something to a charity, but also leave some money tax free to their kids for legacy planning. Isn't that neat?
Yeah, and I think that that's a common issue. I mean, especially with farmers like that and different, legacy planning. And so, Jenna, again, what's kind of the heart behind the math here?
Yeah, well, I'll answer that in a story, believe it or not.
Okay.
So let's just say Prira built a neighborhood bakery that taught teens job skills. That's pretty neat. A
Mhm.
national chain came along with a lot of money and they offered to buy her out. She really wanted to accept and keep her promise to fund training for local kids at the same time. So before signing binding documents, we worked with her attorney and CPA to contribute a slice of the bakery equity to a charitable remainder unit trust. The trust received units per transaction, sold them in the deal, and invested the proceeds. Prira received a partial charitable deduction, diversified her wealth, and the CRT, or Charitable Remainder Trust, began paying her a set percentage annually, dependable on income. And every summer, a grant tied to the trust charitable remainder funded paid for culinary internships. Isn't that neat?
Mm.
So 2 years later, a former intern sent Priya a photo in the chef's coat, and the picture said, "First day teaching." And Priya said to me, the sale changed my life, but the trust changed my promise into something that keeps baking on and on and
Mhm.
on, a legacy.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, those stories, it happens more often than I think, you think, really.
Yeah.
Um, so again, let's go through kind of the qualifications or what people or listeners should know before kind of exploring that CRT option.
Yes. Well, and this again is for somebody that has highly appreciated assets, usually in the form of real estate or a farm or something like that, and they just really have a desire to avoid capital gains tax, but get an income coming in. So, if you have a desire for a lifetime or a certain period of time income and a charitable legacy, this would be a great strategy to think about. The timing is you want to plan before you sell. the binding sale. Coordination is critical.
Mm,
The structure actually within a charitable remainder trust is usually an annuity with a fixed dollar amount versus a unit trust fixed percentage payout, but each has trade offs. So you can use either one, right?
yep.
Deductions are based on projected remainder values using IRS assumptions, appraisals, or calculations. So you do have to work closely with the attorney or CPA. And it is complex. I mean, it's a legal vehicle with ongoing administration, but very transformative when aligned with values and cash flow. And like I said, if people are worried about losing that money going to a charity when they pass away, they can always buy a life insurance policy to leave their kids. Like if they're going to leave $500,000 to the charity when they die,
Mhm,
they could always buy a life insurance policy for $500,000 to then make sure the kids still get $500,000 if they really wanted
mhm.
to. Sometimes that can be way less than paying a huge capital gains tax bill.
Yeah.
It just depends on what's higher, right? On whether or not you would do it.
Yeah. So Jenna, it sounds like, just a reminder to name the charities, thoughtfully, or kind of keep
Yeah.
flexibility with maybe a short list if your passions do and they can evolve. And so Jenna, how can people take action if they want to coordinate a charitable giving strategy like some of the ones that you've shared today?
Well, they'd want to clarify their cause in one or two sentences, like what are they passionate about, right? And find the
Mhm.
right charity to support. Inventory appreciated assets and concentration risk, and check IRA status and age. You want to match the vehicle, appreciated securities for tax efficient gifts now, QCDs to beat RMDs while keeping AGI lower. And CRTs are really for income and legacy with high gain assets. So,
Mm,
again, they really have to work with an attorney to set up that charitable remainder trust. But if they have that really highly appreciated asset and they want to avoid capital gains tax, but still have an income coming in, that's where that CRT could be something to look at. And obviously, you want to coordinate with a financial advisor that understands charitable and tax planning. And not every advisor does. Most advisors really focus on investments, but they may not have the knowledge behind charitable planning or tax planning, right?
mhm. Yes, absolutely. So it sounds like Jenna, I mean, 3 strategies, 3 very different stories, but very moving stories.
Oh,
And
thank
it's
you.
it's donate appreciated securities, use QCDs when you're eligible, and consider a charitable remainder trust for, income plus legacy. So any final thoughts, Jenna, before we finish or close out today?
Yes, yes. Well, all three of these strategies are, again, extremely powerful to make an impact, but also reduce your overall tax burden. And I think it's just great to remember again that it's truly a bigger blessing to give than to receive. And
Mhm,
again, the more selfless we become, the richer our lives will truly be. So if
mhm,
you're someone listening that really wants to make a difference in the world, maybe you're very passionate about a certain cause, but you'd also like the potential to reduce taxes and you really just want your money to mean something, then any of these strategies we could look at depending on your age, your situation, your goals, what your investments are. They don't work for everyone, but for people that have that desire to give back and also reduce taxes, I think there's some really wonderful opportunities out there, right?
mhm. Yes, yes, and you're right. I mean, generosity in practice, it is a practice. It's not a performance, and
Hmm.
it's not perfection. It's however you do it. And start where you are, then let your impact deepen. And that does it for our episode of retirement today. How would people get a hold of you, Jenna, if they wanted to schedule that complimentary consultation?
Yeah, well, we would love for you to give us a call at 1-800-994-8993. Again, that's 1-800-994-8993. And thank you for joining us. Everyone have a happy 4th.
Bye, Jenna.